Hi, good morning. It is Wednesday, August 26th. I'm actually out in Eugene, Oregon, and it's incredibly nice here, even though they have one of the worst rainfall deficits in the country. We're having another exceptionally dry year. There's been fire danger and stuff close by. There's been fire. I was here in 2024, did a bunch of waterings. It went spectacularly well and convinced me that I was really onto something for the whole world. And now I'm in this cool little Airbnb. This is the whole thing. It's a converted garage with the right kind of colors. And I've been here 2 nights, kind of trying to evaluate what to do next. I was in the Southwest basically for 6 weeks, and I want to give you the quick rundown as fast as I can from just my hand notes on how the whole project went, and then also show you a few visuals here and there and tell you what I'm thinking about as we move into now the Northwest projects and what am I going to do. So the Southwest projects started out here here in Kingston, New Mexico. And I went there and watered for just a few days, got rain every single one of the days. And then I ran up to Colcord Mountain Estates. Same thing, watered a few days, got rain every single one of the days, and then 2 rains on the 3rd day. Then I taught a class in Tierras with my friends there, Daniel and everybody at Roots Farm Cafe and Audrey at the city of Tierras. We did a class on how to do rainmaking with trees and deep rehydration, and essentially did a speed version of rehydration, and they got good rain the next day. And then I got stuck in Durango. So I went home to Texas, had about 8 days off, and then came back to Durango and started watering on 3rd Avenue there and in an area called Florida, which is really the space in between Durango and Bayfield. After about 5 days or 4 days of doing that, I realized I must be doing this wrong and figured out what was going on. And so I started watering in Bayfield and Durango instead, and then eventually was watering between Bayfield, Florida, and Durango, all 3, and did 28 waterings there. Then took a break to watch and see what happened, and ended up watering in Monticello for about 4 days and did 10 waterings there. And since then, it's hard to say exactly what we accomplished. Oh, and by the way, now I'm here in Eugene, Oregon, way up here at the top of the map. It's hard to say exactly what was accomplished, except that I can tell you we were in, first of all, a monsoon crisis. The monsoons weren't coming, and then I started watering, and it just seemed to do what I was hoping for, which is click on rainfall across all 4 corner states. Arizona still doesn't have any active fire in it. That's where we have gotten the best results each of the last 3 years. Southern New Mexico is drying out, but in general, there's only 1 active fire in between Santa Fe and Taos. That's been going for about 3 weeks. Everything else is under control. And then up here, this area is where the worst fires were, and also over here in the sort of eastern corner of Colorado. But all of that got pretty much brought to a halt with the rains that came in mid-July from the first series of waterings here. It really seemed to click on monsoon season for the whole region. And what was confounding and needs to be noted, and is where I'll be trying to build from next year, is that this region, the Durango region, is just this whole area, and you can see there's not a lot of green in this part of Utah. This tormented area of the 4 corners, and what has been done in this region of the Carson National Forest with logging and so forth. There are older maps that show all of this being heavily forested just 100 years ago from the U.S. Forest Service. That seems to now have really caught up, and circulation is basically dead here. There's too much drought. They can't get rains. They didn't get any snow this winter for the first time, I think, ever. And Monticello had one of the worst fires, over 107,000 acres of the Monticello National Forest got burned up. This region just above Durango in the San Juan National Forest has 2 fires totaling nearly 100,000 acres. Pagosa is also having a hard time, but doing a little better with circulation because they're just closer to more greenery. And so I'm going with the ecological interpretation as to what's going on here and what we need to do next, which is really invest in rehydration, strategic rehydration in this whole area from Pagosa Springs up to Monticello. Because otherwise they're in collapse. The stream levels were 5 to 10% of normal in this area of the average for this time of year while I was there in July and August. And, that's catastrophic. This is Colorado. It should be pretty nice and green. And according to the drought monitor, the worst drought is here in sort of the middle of the state, the Grand Mesa. But I'm telling you, the drought monitor is not exactly as accurate as it needs to be. The lowest relative humidities, the worst air drought, in other words, is here. And of course, coming up from Nevada across these deserts. And it's just basically taking over this area where it's hard to get humidity above 30% this time of year. So this whole region needs attention. But what we have here, I've worked in Flagstaff, Prescott, and Colcord Mountain Estates over the last 3 years. What we have in those 3 places is the benefit of, even though they're close to these deserts, the Great Nevada, Mexican, Baja Peninsula stuff, they're still closer to the ocean and closer to the flow off of this vegetation in California than what's happening over here in Durango and Bayfield, where it's just much, much less vegetation. It's bald, We can fix all that stuff, and we can immediately address these crises with strategic watering. And I'm sure of it because I've had, particularly this spring and into summer in Central Texas, where it was my 5th year to see what could be done with strategic watering for the Austin area, the Central Texas area. And I did 72 waterings between March 20th and June 20th. I did a few additional waterings after that to help with the heat crisis. Sorry about my hair as always. And what we saw was that while I was watering, every single heat wave predicted didn't come through. We got record rains relative to what was predicted. The rains were progressively greater each month. It was the meteorologists predicted we were going to have one of the hottest summers, maybe the hottest summer in recent Austin history. And instead, it was the 38th hottest July. After June 20th, I did a few more waterings and some stimulations to maintain the circulation, the cool marsh circulation. And I bragged to the county commissioner, who I have been trying to talk to since 2023, saying, I know how to solve this drought and heat wave stuff just by watering trees. It's just what they do. And if we can set up a project that's going to move forward, it's going to be, historic, and we can help the world understand how to manage this heat wave stuff and drought stuff. Still hadn't taken me up on the project offer, but what I bragged was, when I go away in mid-July, then what you're going to see is it's going to get hotter and hotter. And at that point, AccuWeather's prediction through August of 2026 was that there weren't going to be any days with a 100-degree high. Now, this is unheard of, right? So then I left on July 10th, and by August 1st, they were at triple digits, I believe. By now, August 26th or so, it's over 100 or at 100 every day, not in heat index, but in literal numbers. And sorry, this is my favorite stuff to wear. I probably look like a slob. I just love working outdoors. So Austin, I said to the county commissioner, it's going to get a lot hotter and a lot drier, and then I'll come back and I'll water again, and we'll see the whole thing reverse. Because I have enough understanding of how Central Texas's moisture flows move that I can sense it and I can see it scientifically through the ecological science that I have studied. What needs to be done, where the most effective locations are, and then I'm still always amazed at how big the results are from strategic watering when you follow the simple protocols of watering large leafy wild trees in groves and building up, circulation over a number of days. So yeah, they are in a drought and heat crisis. I've been gone roughly 48 days now, I think, 6 weeks. And this has just clocked up every week. Whereas when I was there, they predicted the worst and we would get the best. They predicted high heat, we would not get it. They predicted no rain, we would get lovely light rains. They predicted heavy extreme weather, we would get lovely medium rains. We would get medium winds. It was all mild and regenerative and rehydrating when nature was given the hydration to do what it knows how to do, what it will do. I don't know what the trees will do, I just know they will do it. Once they have hydration, they'll work together as a community to bring the best weather and the best hydration back into the landscape for all of the life on that landscape. This is a principle we can build the future from and our identities from, our history from. It is trees and forests that are the best engines, the best utilities, the best resources, the best biology, the best ecological infrastructure at sharing moisture across the landscape. There are a lot of things to water, but when you water big leafy trees slowly for rehydration at the trunk with the trickle, and then moisten the trunks at the end of the watering session, so their whole body, as best as you can reach it, is saturated with water, light water, you will see after you do 500 gallons or after you do 1,000 gallons, after you do 7,500 gallons, you'll see real meaningful change across your landscape. Even in Durango, Colorado, where things are extremely in deficit right now, extremely weak and vulnerable without the support of a nearby ocean. They have a nearby desert. It's sort of a triple negative, that problem. But we essentially had the same problem in Leakey last year, 2025. I spent 3 months working mostly in South Central Texas, in Leakey and in Rio Frio. And now they're in the best weather they've been in for 10 years. It's not perfect there, but it can continuously be improved with these efficient waterings. Again, just repeating my message. So this is one version of a SouthWest Projects 2026 report. This is the advocate talking and the quick overview on what actually happened. And so, I'm a real person. I'm too bashful for putting myself on camera all the time. And then lastly, here's one of my maps. I have many sketches of, like, up here in the Northwest, what's happening and what to do about it. And I am planning on heading here-ish to Prineville, or as I like to say, John Prineville. But Prineville, Oregon, where they are just on the border of some of the worst fire in Oregon this year. They're also in the middle of the state, nearly between the worst droughts and next to the worst drought and between more worst fires in Oregon. It's been a battleground for Oregon this year. I wish I could have gotten here in May. That was the plan. But I'm glad we got things done in Texas, because Central Texas really hasn't had a major catastrophic fire event now since, as far as I know, 2023, the last one that was kind of terrifying for the community. And we know it can happen. We all remember Bastrop 2011 and how that ruined a lot of people's home lives that in our communities or circles at that time, just like it's doing in parts of the Northwest right now. Anyway, things have gone well in Texas since strategic watering began relative to wildfire. Things are going super well in Central Texas this year relative to wildfire and restoring a dehydrated system, getting at the soil level, maybe not the aquifer level entirely yet, but getting a lot of light rain so it can penetrate into the roots of the plants over many days. And I'm eager to get back and continue on with that project and hopefully develop it more. I really want to work in the Durango and that part of the Four Corners region, ideally with the tribes just southwest of where the drought is worst in the Southwest, and across Utah and northern Arizona into northern New Mexico is where it would be wonderful to work with the native communities that are stationed there. That's where I'll try and go first on my way home, is to those tribal offices for some quick visits and face-to-face introductions about strategic watering and how we can really help them with drought and heat waves and dead landscapes and wildfire just by efficiently watering remaining trees on their landscapes and working maybe in tandem with the city of Durango and so forth, the Cortez and the other communities around there. There are many, many locations to address in the Southwest. So I'm thinking of everything as like, okay, it's been hard to get credibility so far. I've probably got at least another year of being a one-man team out here on the road. What can I do best as I now hopefully add a couple of people that can, be advocates. Holly and Key in Durango are really, really wonderful new friends. And Mary Lee in New Mexico has been so helpful. Daniel in New Mexico. Yeah, and then I've got a few people in Texas that I, adore or cherish rather as friends and growing colleagues. And I think we can do something. And so the question is, how do we focus that capacity so that we can get as many people watering trees as possible, as soon as possible. And I think, the first thing is going to be to try and address these kind of super danger zones. The gap in the Utah-Colorado moisture circulation that bleeds into the fire that's been getting all the press in the Reno, Nevada area. It's connected to that. Puts Idaho in an extremely vulnerable position. This is essentially the pattern of fire. And the Canadian fires are also just sort of streaming down. This circulation moves of different directions depending on the time of year. But what this is telling us, in my estimation and assessment, this is all essentially mostly treeless, hard to hold moisture on a desert landscape, and then this yellow is where it's sort of edgy. Colorado, again, according to the drought monitor, is worst in the country, but really what we need to watch is the way moisture is available to Colorado. Colorado is at the wrong end, the furthest away from the ocean, the furthest away from the western, circulation, and nearly the furthest away from the Mexican circulation in the summer. And it's just, again, it's getting caught up in this heat island that is where the Four Corners meet, and recent deforestation has apparently taken place at colossal scale in the Carson National Forest and so forth. All this stuff, this is what I perceive as going on, and how we can fix the Southwest is to really get rehydrated all across this area, all in here, and to facilitate better weather here with rehydration. And ultimately there are many layers of things that can be done here. Adding soil is the second top priority. And all of that can restore economically, restore the water supplies, that will restore the economic interests in Colorado, protect people from fire, the insurance industry can come back. We can do it in any part of the country. Again, I'm sure because of what's going on in Central Texas right now. Just from one guy doing whatever 72 times 500 is, it's like less than 3 swimming pools worth of water put onto strategically located forest groves. That Central Texas project. The total amount of water so far for the Southwest Project 2026 is only 25,500 gallons, roughly. A backyard swimming pool has something like 20,000 gallons in it. So I've, used 1 swimming pool worth of water to cover these sites, all these sites, just 25,500 gallons. It's minuscule, especially compared to the results. And so because I've been talking so long, I will not get into what I'm going to try and do up here over the next 10 to 14 days, but I'll just point at, again, not again, for the first time, this is kind of where I'm aiming. This piece, that's Prineville, or like I said, Prineville, John Prineville. And the circulation is essentially gone here also, where this gap is, and streaming across all of that plain type land over to this level of forest. This is where Oregon is driest. This is where the worst fires are, this whole receiving end. And, you know, Spokane is actually not in a rainfall deficit right now, but this dry air that is compounding and so forth hopefully can be directly addressed by helping this piece. The weird thing that I'm seeing, and this is the end of my long tail here, is that working any of these strategic watering projects to the level I do, you know, this is an interesting pattern to try and help the circulation restore. We've got it going great here, but it's not really moving rain through here yet like we need it to. We have it going great here when I'm watering, you know. We can get it going great here from Eugene, but the problem in Oregon is back to this area. Like, this is what I'm perceiving as, when you look at the humidity trends, relative humidity trends, might be the right joint to try and address, and then come back to Eugene or Roseburg. Anyway, now I'm talking too much about the Northwest projects, but you look for strategic juncture points that are going to send the moisture where it needs to go, you know, make it easier for it to circulate in those forests. And that's what we're doing going forward. This has been a report on the SouthWest projects 2026. This is the short in-person version. I'm Chris Searles, and I hope this is helpful to anyone trying to understand what I'm doing out here. And I'll deliver a detailed written report at some point in the fall, as well as a video report highlighting sort of the important takeaways from that detail. The vapor deficit readings that we can pull from different locations from the national weather stations, I believe, will directly show, how the waterings increase daily humidity, eliminate fire potential across the large landscape, and set the stage for more good slow rain and precipitation. Last thing, Monticello, where I finished the SouthWest projects this run, I may go back and do a little more on my way home. They got a ½ inch of rain on Sunday. It was supposed to come Saturday, and that's a big deal, that amount of rain. That just really, you know, that's a lot of rain for the area. So I hope everything is fine there for everybody there, but I'm also glad that we were able to participate in softening up that ground so that when the rains were available, they could come and soak in. All right, more to come. Thanks for watching this long, short report. I will talk to you soon through more strategic watering, rainmaking with trees, and deep rehydrations for BioIntegrity. Thanks. All right, I'm nearly packed up to leave this place, but I forgot to say, so what I think we accomplished this series of waterings after the initial 13 in New Mexico and Arizona. When I came back to Durango, I think what we accomplished was learning how bad the situation was. Exceptionally important right now because they are collapsing. B, getting a pretty good sense of how to address it and doing something, moving the air in a positive direction, meaning getting it resourced through strategic rehydration of the trees so that it can hold humidity better, bring in more rain, etc. And that seems to be happening except for the rain. So again, A, learning how tough the situation is there. And then C, the third thing, there has been a drastic increase in the humidity since I watered there. It shot up, I think, into the 70s Monday. that's like, that's enough to prevent fire. And then when you look at the areas just downwind of Durango, where in Bayfield in Florida, where I did all that watering, they're getting rain every day. They're getting it, according to the radar, they've been getting rain nearly every day while I was, the second half of while I was watering. So it's not perfect at all in southwestern Colorado. It's difficult, it's challenged. There's still water rationing and all that, but the general pattern of the moisture has been to wash over the worst of the fires in Utah and Colorado and keep that circulation, or bring that back, since I did the waterings in Durango. And then after the 28 waterings, and then after the 10 waterings in Monticello, the experience in Monticello was easier to track because things happened the way they typically happen, which is after the first watering, I could see, the different breeze patterns in the canopies. By the 5th or 6th watering, you're really seeing greening across the landscape. And after 10 waterings, it's like, yeah, I can leave here. It's not done, but it's safe here for now. The fire weather conditions have gone away. The drought is not at a danger point. And I think that what we're going to get is more moist circulation now. I just have that sense that we changed the regime enough. We put enough of a resource here that it can circulate moisture in the air. And lastly, Durango and Bayfield, letter D of my, outcomes here, the fourth thing, they seem to benefit directly from those waterings in Monticello, which was the main reason I did that, was trying to facilitate that circulation, but also to see, let's try it, because I don't see a better thing to experiment with. I want to do something specific to this region and see if it works. And that is water in Monticello to help Monticello, but that should, because it's upwind of the Durango Bayfield area, that should help all of the Durango Bayfield dry conduit begin to circulate more moisture. And again, Cortez got rain. The other little town there starts with an M. Lots of areas close to Durango got rain, and Durango and Bayfield got a little bit of rain. But most of what they're getting is higher humidity, moist, cool air. And so the fire weather conditions are just getting slowly muted down, dampened down, slowly rehydrating the land, slowly addressing their hydrophobic soils, their thin soils, their crusty, dry, crunchy landscapes that are just difficult to walk on. They're so dry right now. Slowly softening all that up, bringing back the blossoms, bringing back natural, normal, light intensity circulation. I do believe that has happened since the waterings in Durango, since I figured out what I was doing there, and then again sort of redoubled through the work in Monticello. It would have been smartest from a SouthWest project standpoint to stay there and keep working it for another 6 weeks. But I felt like with the little bit of budget I have left, I've got to go to the Northwest and try to do something significant. I've had such good luck in Northern California and Southwestern Oregon and Central California, working with the big trees. Let me get up here and give it a shot. I've got 10 to 14 days that I could work budget wise. So let's go for it. And then on the way back, do a few more waterings and try to scale up for 2027. And that is why I'm in the Northwest. And that is also the end of the SouthWest Project's ad hoc report from Eugene, Oregon. 2026. Thank you for checking it out. Thank you for your interest and support. Please try trickle watering your biggest trees at the trunk, or any tree, and enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon from out here on the road.